Try. Hello and welcome to this edition of Talk Vietnam. As you've just seen, I've just done my hand sanitizing, as many of you do in recent days, to help protect yourselves from coronavirus. As you might have guessed, the topic of today is related to coronavirus or the COVID-19 pandemic in Vietnam. But it's not through our view, it's from our foreign friends' view. And with that, we hope to bring you some appealing and special experiences.
I nearly died, but the doctor saved me.
We are now connecting with a British man who tested positive with COVID-19.
I felt tired, just run down, a bit sleepy.
Someone was diagnosed positive, it's very real and it's scary.
Toàn dân làm, cả hệ thống các ngành các cấp và đồng bộ quyết liệt chống dịch corona này như chống giặc.
Giặc đến nhà, đàn bạc đánh.
Với một tinh thần là chúng ta luôn luôn đặt mức sẵn sàng cao hơn.
There's clearly faith in the government.
Vietnam can be proud of. You have already good plan.
I'm very grateful.
Honestly, thank you.
Merci parce qu'ils sont très bien occupés de nous.
You're wonderful people, thank you.
And to start our show, we're going to attend a special ceremony in one of the quarantine areas in the outskirts of Hanoi and look for our first guest.
Kính thưa các chị đại biểu, kính thưa bà con, sau khi trở về nơi công tác, gia đình, cộng đồng, đề nghị bà con phát huy hết tinh thần chống dịch như chống giặc, giữ gìn sức khỏe cho mình, cho gia đình và cho cộng đồng. Chung tay cùng cộng đồng đẩy lùi bệnh dịch Covid-19. Chúc bà con thượng lộ bình an. Xin chân thành cảm ơn.
So our guest of the show today is Gavin Wilden, a British man who arrived in Nội Bài International Airport on March the 14th in the flight VN0054. And today is exactly 2 weeks of his quarantine time, and he's now safe to be released. And I can see he's right over there, so let's join me to greet him. Hi,
Good.
Gavin, how are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh, maybe we should
Maybe
not
not,
shake
yeah,
hands.
yeah.
Social distancing.
Yeah,
how
of
are
course.
you doing?
I'm good, yeah. I'm happy this is my last day. Yeah, really happy about that.
Yeah, and you got a certificate.
I did, yeah. So
Yeah.
this says that I'm healthy and I've gone through quarantine.
Thank you. Can I take a look?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Gavin Wilden. Wow. So the time of quarantine is from 13th of March until now, 27th.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Finally, I'm really glad to be out.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah. And during your time here, you kept a diary?
Yeah.
And we are very impressed at how detailed and interesting it is.
Thank you. It kept me busy.
Is it okay for you to share more about that
sure,
with us?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, of course.
Yeah. So let's join our talk.
Okay.
Gavin Wilden is a British expert on e-commerce. He was on a direct flight from London to Hanoi to meet his fiancée and start his new life in Vietnam when his flight was found to be infected with SARS-CoV-2. In front of two choices, either returning to England or entering the quarantine area, he did not hesitate to choose the quarantine area along with 3 other foreigners.
So Gavin, since we are safely apart from each other, let's remove our face masks and begin our talk. Tell us about how did you feel when you were on that flight and you knew that you might have a high chance of getting exposed to COVID-19. Were you scared?
Yeah. You see it on the news, you see the pictures, but when you're there, it's very real and it's scary. You know, you're on a flight with people, and some are wearing a lot of masks and protection. Yeah, it's really scary because you think you could, you know, that person might be the person who has it and infects you, and you're worried that you spread it to others. In my mind, I was thinking, wow, like this is frightening, this is scary. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know when I'm going to see loved ones again. I don't know where we're going to go, but I kind of use that time to prepare myself for, like, listen, you know, whatever happens next happens. You know, it's not my first time going through some kind of difficulty, so, you know, you prepare yourself going in that this will be tough, but, you know, 14 days later, you're free.
Tell us how's your life in quarantine?
Yeah, my life's been fine here. You know, it's probably been quite healthy because I've not eaten much sugar. You know, we've eaten, you know, fresh vegetables, things like that, which I definitely did not at home. I've not been disciplined with my diet, but being here, it's kind of instilled that kind of discipline. When I came here, I needed to get used to eating a lot of rice, and I've eaten a lot of rice here, and that's great. So now I'm used to it as my staple food. I see rice now, and I'm like, yes, rice. Yeah, I've heard that the vegetables have been grown kind of locally here. Yeah, I'm shameful to admit it. I don't eat enough vegetables, but now, yeah, it's kind of really made me. I see vegetables now, and I'm like, yes.
So it's a chance for you to change your eating habit.
Yeah, and they've been really fresh here. You know, some of the potatoes, peppers. You know, I've been like, wow, this is. You know, I'm told that soldiers grow them, you know, locally around this area.
Military School, Hanoi Capital High Command, where Gavin Wilden and more than 700 others were isolated for 2 weeks, was carefully prepared. The soldiers, doctors, and volunteers worked tirelessly to provide the best living conditions for the quarantined people.
Outside, everything is peaceful. The location is quiet. The soldiers work tirelessly to sterilize the rooms daily, lock our temperature, and clear out our bins. They live here to help the countries, and despite what they might have heard, they are friendly and caring. Later, a soldier returns having purchased a SIM card for me. I wanted to tip him for helping me since I got here, but he refuses.
Those were the first things shared in Gavin's diary on the first day of the quarantine. During the isolation period, Gavin had the experience of living the lifestyle of the military, eating and sleeping according to schedule to ensure health. At 10 o'clock, the officers and soldiers knocked on the door of each room to remind everyone to go to bed and stay quiet. Every day, doctors go from room to room, doing medical exams and measuring the body temperature of each person. Cleaning and disinfecting rooms is also done regularly to ensure there is no cross-contamination in the quarantine area. In addition to capturing vivid images of life here to overcome the boring times, Gavin and others have devised physical training methods.
There's a few. So when I was sat right here in the middle of the night and I was filming a thunderstorm, yeah, that was so serene and peaceful to me. And it made me sort of, you know, rethink my perspective here. Of, you know, there's so much positive to take away from this. You know, so much learning and growth that can be done.
So during your stay here, was there anything unexpected happen?
Yeah, so it was unexpected when someone was diagnosed positive, and then we all had to be swabbed and tested again. And they were taking people out of rooms and taking them away to, I think, hospitals and different zones.
How do you see the react of the military people and the doctors and nurses here?
It was very swift. Immediately they were setting up stations to kind of start testing everyone. Everyone was kept in their rooms, and then one by one they would kind of test. It was very routine. I think from there everyone kind of stayed in their rooms. But I think, yeah, they kind of dealt with it, you know, really quickly. Anyone from the room for the infected person was immediately kind of removed from the facility here. So yeah.
Were you scared when you saw that?
Yeah, because once again you kind of don't know. We had our results, but once again you don't know if you've kind of touched something accidentally, or you haven't washed your hands like in time, or you just don't know, and that's, you know, scary.
Yeah.
You know, once again, so you don't know if you're going to have to, you know, stay longer, or you don't know if because they caught it, maybe everyone needs to stay another 14 days. Like, we didn't know.
Did you miss home and your fiancé?
Yeah, it's. I try not to let those kind of thoughts enter of like, oh, I really miss this, or miss that. You know, I kind of tried to see the positive. You know, I wake up in the morning and think, all right, what am I going to achieve today? You take it one day at a time. In times like this, this isn't the first time where, I grew up in foster homes, and you would have periods like this where you'd be removed from a dangerous situation, and you'd maybe spend 2 weeks in a strange home for a while before you know where you're going to go next. So, for me, this has kind of happened. Similar situations happened before. So I just, I try not to think of what I miss, and I try and think of what's ahead of me. There's no time to feel sorry for yourself because we're not in the worst situation. How can we complain when people like Mr. Ban have spent like nearly 3 months here? They've not seen their families, their daughters, their sons, their children. 3 months. And the families of those people have to be without them, and they know that they're helping fight this. They're at the kind of front line of it, and they don't know if their loved ones will be infected. So how can we complain when we've just here 2 weeks? It almost makes me cry a little bit when I found out that people have been here. Some people 2-3 months. Like, wow, they're putting in a lot of effort to help their country. They're putting in a lot of effort to keep everyone safe. They're working a lot. They're not complaining, and they're doing it with a smile. It's really inspirational for me. So I want to say thank you to everyone that's everyone that's fighting this, everyone that's donated, everyone that's working hard on this, because they're putting themselves in harm's way, and they're stepping up to do it.
To support Gavin and others isolated at the military school, the Hanoi Capital High Command has mobilized a large number of forces. These forces have worked tirelessly day and night to support people during their quarantine.
Trong quá trình phục vụ, thì cán bộ chiến sĩ chúng tôi với tinh thần trách nhiệm chống dịch như chống giặc và không để lại một công dân nào ở phía sau. Trong quá trình tổ chức phục vụ, thì nhà trường chúng tôi với phương châm 4 tại chỗ và đặc biệt với quan điểm phục vụ tốt nhất đối với bà con. Trong khi đó thì bộ đội thì ở cũng trong doanh trại, nhưng mà trong cái điều kiện thì không thể bằng ở bên khu cách ly để nhường lại những cái điều kiện tốt nhất để phục vụ bà con.
More than 100 officers and soldiers of the military school, the Hanoi Capital High Command takes turns to guard. The patrol team will guard and ensure the safety of the isolated area. Each shift is from 6 a.m. today to 6 a.m. tomorrow. The transport team distributes necessities, such as medical gloves and masks. The logistics team will take care of daily meals, toothbrushes, and pillows for people so they can feel secure. The work of the soldiers started at 3 a.m., cooking food to be brought to the people.
Nhiệm vụ chung của quốc tế, của đất nước, và đặc biệt là đón những công dân từ nước ngoài về là thể hiện một tinh thần là người Việt Nam.
The silent sacrifice of doctors and soldiers in the quarantine area has made Gavin and other foreigners admire them.
To all the soldiers, to all the doctors, to all the volunteers, to everyone working on this, I want to say thank you.
Now that you are about to leave this facility, what do you miss the most?
I miss how peaceful it is here and serene. I'll probably miss the kind of feeling of adventure in a small way, because in a strange way this is kind of scary, but that's slightly exciting, and you're in the middle of a big important kind of event. I'll miss the soldiers, I miss the people. They've been so positive here. I'll probably miss the kind of routine, and I'll miss the kind of, it forces you into that kind of positive mindset of every day, getting through it. So I'll probably miss that a lot. It's going to be strange not hearing that every day. It's just something that you kind of, it's just a routine. It was strange not hearing it. It kind of gives me a bit of a feeling of safety because everything's so well sanitized every single day. Rooms, everything, when people touch something, sanitized.
What impressed you the most about the efforts of the Vietnamese government and people in the fight against coronavirus?
I'd say a few things. The preparedness, how much they've been able to mobilize, the kind of people, resources, facilities like this. And this is a huge facility, and there's many, many more. So the level of organization and the quick response. There's been no what I think has impressed me the most is there's not been bureaucracy. There's been response. For example, I think last week, every day I saw a new action from the government. When someone was confirmed, they would disinfect the entire kind of area with trucks. They were very, very careful, very thorough. It really seems like, a lot of other countries, perhaps their plan was to try and minimize, but Vietnam's plan, I think, has been clearly to kind of eradicate as much as possible, which is probably why they've had so few cases. Yeah, I'm really impressed.
Yeah. So you sold your car in the UK and left the UK for Vietnam to live here. So what does Vietnam mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. It's solidified it more for me now, seeing everyone's support and seeing just how dedicated people have been, and how people are so proud of their country. In the UK, we sort of are, we criticise it a lot, but here people are so supportive to kind of rally behind this. The only criticism I've kind of had has been from foreigners like myself, who maybe didn't believe some of the stories. I said, well, come here and see it. Vietnam means a lot to me now. It's my new home, and I think that's again solidified for me just by the support I've seen from people.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Gavin, for your sharing, and we wish you all the best for your plans in the future. And let's stay home to keep us all safe.
You too, and stay safe.
Yeah, thank you. So since the Lunar New Year, Vietnam has been fighting the COVID-19 pandemic in 3 different phases. Now let's take a look at the journey of the fighting against COVID-19 and how international specialists assess them.
On January 23rd, the first 2 cases of COVID-19 infection in Vietnam were recorded. The country officially entered phase 1 of the fight against this new novel coronavirus. But a month earlier, when the first cases of strange pneumonia were reported in Wuhan, China, Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister Vu Duc Dam issued documents directing localities to strengthen health quarantine measures at various border gates.
Early activation of the warning system. China reported that their first cluster of the severe viral pneumonia of the unknown origin at the last day of the December last year. Vietnam have already activated the risk assessment system, prepared for the potential importation and the potential community spread.
For the health warning mechanism to work effectively, the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Health constantly sent text messages to every citizen, including foreigners, on specific guidance to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
I think one of the best practices I've seen in Vietnam has been the push messaging through text messages to the public. It puts the public at ease because it puts power in their hands about the measures they can take to protect themselves and protect their families.
We've used Vietnam as an example for phase 1. There are no other countries, to the best of my knowledge, that reduced the numbers from whatever they were to 0.
On the evening of March 6th, Hanoi announced the first positive case of COVID-19, ending 22 consecutive days without any new cases reported. Vietnam officially entered phase 2. On March 19th, the country reached 100 cases. It took Vietnam 57 days to grow from 1 case to 100 cases. This is almost double the world's average of 30 days. According to the global average, it takes 7 to 9 days to grow from 100 to 1,000 cases. For Vietnam, it took the country 7 days to go from 100 cases to 171, and 9 days to go from 100 cases to 203. The highest representative of the United Nations in Vietnam said the increasing levels of measures and tightening of control in Vietnam are the main contributors to the country's low number of new cases.
With the measures that Vietnam's taken on shutting down flights coming in, and even foreigners coming in, and even now Vietnamese coming in, that source should hopefully be under control.
The recommendations have also become stricter, from advising people to work from home, to restricting going out, to banning the gathering of 50 to 20 to 10 people, and now just 2 people. For this method to work, the compliance of citizens is key.
There's clearly faith in the government at the moment.
Vietnam is number 1 among the surveyed country. People show the trust to the government. People believe government is doing right action.
From 12 a.m. on April 1st, Vietnam implemented Directive 16 of the Prime Minister on physical distancing within 15 days. This is considered a higher measure to prevent the spread of the pandemic. This is not a national lockdown. With that, Vietnam entered the third phase of the war against COVID-19. The country has recorded no death.
Be proud. Vietnam can be proud of you have already good plan, already good strategy, and then well-trained health sector people.
Vietnam's efforts in the war against COVID-19 have been praised by the international press.
Quick, effective and uncharacteristically transparent management of the viral outbreak. Vietnam has proved a model in containing the disease in a country with limited resources but determined leadership.
How does a nation with limited resources confront a global pandemic that has brought many developed countries' healthcare system to a breaking point? Vietnam has instead stood out as a beacon of how to do more with less.
Foreigners living in Vietnam also posted compliments about the COVID-19 prevention, saying that they always have faith in a second home. Among the posts, the tweets of American Johnson on Twitter have attracted thousands of comments from friends around the globe. There are people telling me that Vietnam isn't doing that great. They're just hot and humid, and that is why COVID-19 doesn't spread there. But the truth is, half the country has been cold and humid since the virus first broke out. Especially Hanoi, a super dense city of millions that has been cold and humid and rainy for months. So anyway, people keep asking if I'm okay and showing concern for me living in Vietnam right now. But I'm much more worried about all of you. I'm in the safest country in the world.
So the guy behind all those tweets are actually an American named Aaron Johnson, who has been living in Vietnam for 7 years and has a profound knowledge of Vietnamese history and culture. By closely monitoring all the efforts of Vietnam, he is trying to inform the world about the story of Vietnam that the West might not know. Aaron actually bought a ticket to fly from Da Nang to join us here in our studio in Hanoi for Talk Vietnam. However, due to the complex situation of COVID-19 now, and following the instructions of the Ministry of Health, we had to cancel this idea and switched to teleconference form. This is also the first time in the history of Talk Vietnam that we are doing our discussion this way. Now we're connecting to Aaron in Da Nang to get more insight into the story. Hi, Aaron. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
I can.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. So how are you doing practicing social distancing there in Da Nang?
Well, you know, I'm spending most of my time indoors at home. We've been working, you know, we work from home anyway, so it's kind of normal for us. So it hasn't been so bad.
Yeah, working from home is a big trend right now for all of us. So I've seen all your tweets about COVID-19 in Vietnam, and you said it's the fact that about Vietnam that the West might not know. So why is that?
You know, the charts and all the health experts have been saying that the USA and Europe and the rich developed countries of the world would be the most prepared for a pandemic, and that, you know, poor developing countries like Vietnam would be some of the least prepared. But obviously, Vietnam has completely flouted that expectation and has done just a remarkable, inspiring job taking care of the people here. And, you know, it's not just the government, it's also the people of Vietnam. It's everyone working together, I think, that has saved so many lives and protected this country from, you know, what could have been a much worse situation here. Nobody, I think, expected a poor developing country like Vietnam to do such an amazing job protecting people from a pandemic that is devastating much more wealthy, more powerful nations. But it's not the first time that Vietnam surprised the world, you know, fighting against difficult odds. And, you know, I just hope that I can get people in my home country in the USA and around the world to pay attention to what's happening here.
Why do you think Vietnam has been able to keep such a low rate of COVID-19 infections, and actually now the death rate is still 0?
I think the biggest difference is that Vietnam jumped into action right away. The government knew what to do. Health professionals knew what to do. There was a plan. It was put into place. The people quickly jumped on board. I think that unity that the people have and the trust that Vietnamese people have for one another, I think that's very important. It reminds me of what Ho Chi Minh said, which was, the great quote, unity, unity, great unity, success, success, great success. And that has been echoed in some of the quotes I've seen from the leadership here in Vietnam, talking about how, no one should be left behind. We can't let the people who are in quarantine feel like they are alone right now. That spirit of unity that goes all the way back to Ho Chi Minh and to the centuries of the past of Vietnam, I really feel like it's alive and breathing today. I feel the spirit that we're pulling together. I see the people wearing masks. I notice that people are taking care of each other and watching out for each other. People are washing their hands. If you go to any place where they have a hand washing station, people are using them. People are doing what the health advisors are telling them to do. In the USA, we have a little bit more of the kind of individualistic mindset, and I think that feeds into the problems in the USA. The USA is kind of expecting people to take care of themselves. Whereas in Vietnam, if you're exposed to the virus or you're showing symptoms, you're getting tested, you're getting put into quarantine, you're getting, food and shelter. I know that the USA, being the richest country in the world, we have the capacity to do these things. Vietnam, it should be much more difficult for your country to do these things because you have a much smaller national budget, you have fewer resources, and yet you're able to take care of all the people here. So, I think that Vietnam, quite simply, the people in Vietnam care about each other. There is unity here. There is a spirit of just caring about each other.
The entire Vietnamese nation, let's join hands and stay united to overcome all difficulties and challenges in order to stamp out the COVID-19 pandemic.
Nếu không có hệ thống chính trị như của Việt Nam thì chắc không làm được đâu. Nếu chỉ có nhiều chuyên gia lệnh thì chưa chắc đã chuyển được thế này đâu. Toàn dân làm. Cả hệ thống các ngành các cấp làm đồng bộ quyết liệt
chống dịch corona này như chống giặc.
Giặc đến nhà, đàn bạc đánh.
Tôi đồng ý là có thể thiệt hại về kinh tế, đôi chút tính mạng và sức khỏe của người dân vẫn là điều quan trọng nhất. Với một tinh thần là chúng ta luôn luôn đặt mức sẵn sàng cao hơn.
Trong 2 tuần tới, thành phố phải sống khác, tiết kiệm hơn, ít đi lại hơn, tự giám sát tốt hơn.
Phải xử lý một cách nghiêm túc và làm một cách nghiêm túc, chứ chúng ta không được chủ quan.
Aaron, the Vietnamese leaders had a slogan for this fight against coronavirus. Fighting the epidemic is fighting the enemy. So in Vietnamese, we say chống dịch như chống giặc. So with your deep knowledge about the Vietnamese history and culture, do you think this slogan is consistent with the way Vietnamese people have been, overcome challenges back in history and now in modern time?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Whether you're talking about during the war against colonialism, whether it's against the Japanese, the French, or the United States of American military, the Vietnamese showed a lot of ingenuity and a lot of togetherness and cooperation through all of that. And I know that, in those wars, the Vietnamese people were facing incredible odds. I mean, the odds were really, really against them. And I think most of the world back then expected Vietnam to fail and to be conquered again. But Vietnam showed that a national spirit of cooperation and mutually taking care of each other, that's enough to carry through and lead us to victory. And I think that now Vietnam is taking that same spirit, the same spirit that they used in ancient battles. And I think that the empty homes, empty gardens strategy is a great metaphor for what's happening right now. And I mean right now at this moment, the time when we are shutting down businesses, shutting down any non-essential shops, and basically trying to stay at home and trying to hide. I think that is it's an amazing strategy, and I think it's very similar to that ancient strategy of going into the jungle, taking all of your food with you, destroying anything that the enemy might be able to use. It shows patience and humility, rather than trying to go up and beat your head against the wall or try to fight an enemy that you can't defeat right now. Being able to have patience in that situation and wait until the opportunity is better to come out and show yourself, I think that is really impressive. It's really kind of a beautiful thing to go out and see that, if I look out my window, the streets are empty, the shops are closed, and people are going through this struggle, and we're hiding, but we're not hiding with any shame. We're hiding with pride because we know that it's the right thing to do right now, and we know that it's required, it's necessary to defeat this enemy.
Thank you, Aaron. That's a very interesting point that you pointed out.
Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 epidemic in Vietnam, all resources from the military, police, doctors and volunteers have been mobilized to fight on the front line against the pandemic. In the quarantine area of the National Hospital of Tropical Diseases, the highest number of COVID-19 infected patients are being treated, and medical workers faced a high risk of infection. But all they care about is the health and recovery of patients, not themselves.
Quyết tâm, chủ động trong mọi tình huống để làm sao thành công trong việc điều trị các ca bệnh, không để ca bệnh nào lùi lại ở phía sau, cứu sống tất cả các ca bệnh.
Khi mình bước chân qua cánh cửa để vào buồng của bệnh nhân là chúng tôi đối diện với nguy cơ có thể bị nhiễm loại virus này. Nhưng nếu mà chúng tôi lùi bước thì ai sẽ là người làm? Nếu ai cũng chọn việc nhẹ nhàng thì gian khổ sẽ dành cho ai?
At the same time, in the border, right at the edge of the forest, water is taken from the stream, and a bowl of instant noodles is a meal for many consecutive days of guard duty. These border guards work day and night, so no one crosses from the other side without medical examination and isolation.
Đi lại, đeo lội suối, hái khí hậu thất thường, mưa nhiều, rồi đường trơn, sương mù dày đặc.
Tents are built in the middle of deep forest without electricity or water. These soldiers have to stay here for not just a few weeks, but maybe several months, depending on the pandemic. Someone had to postpone a wedding ceremony to be ready for duty.
Vợ ở nhà thông cảm cho anh vì nhiệm vụ nên là không thể hẹn vợ một ngày gần nhất, đẹp nhất để hai vợ chồng tổ chức lễ cưới.
Faces with marks of wearing masks for hours. The night marches on the mountain under dense fog. The days of knocking on each door to check out suspected cases. On all front lines against the pandemic, medical doctors, police officers and border guards are working tirelessly, leaving all the personal feelings behind to fight for their homeland, national security and the safety of their beloved ones. Maybe behind the layers of masks and protective clothes, no one clearly sees their faces, no one remembers their names, but to all people living in Vietnam, they are unsung heroes in modern times.
So we've seen the images of unsung heroes in this fight against coronavirus, including doctors, nurses, volunteers, soldiers, and some of them haven't been home for months. So what do you think about these modern day heroes?
It's inspiring, and I feel, I feel a little bit sad for them because I know that they're sacrificing so much for people that they may have never met in their entire lives. Some of the if a soldier goes out and they're sleeping on the street like I've seen, or if a doctor is spending hours and hours on end without rest in a hospital, I would like to say to anybody who's watching this right now who might be volunteering in that capacity, thank you very much. I know I'm a foreigner, I'm a guest in your country, but the fact that you're willing to go out there and risk your health and your life, even to protect a foreigner, even to protect a stranger, who you've never met before, that's just amazing to me. It's really inspiring. And I hope that you realize that we appreciate everything you're doing to save our lives. And I hope that you are very proud of yourself and your country and this great, monumental, I think, historic effort that you're a part of. You are a part of history right now. I study Vietnamese history. I'm very interested in all of the things that the people here have done for a very, very long time. And I know that this chapter of Vietnamese history will be just as important in the books, that are written in the years and decades to come.
Well, once again, thank you so much, Aaron, for your beautiful stories and insights about the current situation of COVID-19 in Vietnam and the efforts of the government and Vietnamese people in fighting and containing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up until 4 p.m. April 4th, 2020, Vietnam has recorded 239 cases of COVID-19, of which there are 45 foreigners infected. They are being treated at 18 health facilities across the country. Currently, the situation of foreign infections in Vietnam is stable, and more than 10 cases have been tested negative and discharged from hospitals.
So to help you have a better understanding of how foreign patients are being treated in Vietnamese hospitals, we are now connecting with a British man who tested positive with COVID-19, and to ensure his safety, we will keep his identity anonymous. Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
So can you describe the symptoms that you had and how you were treated at the hospital?
Okay, the symptoms were very mild. I thought it was jet lag. I felt tired, just run down, a bit sleepy for a few hours. For about 18 hours this lasted, and then I felt okay. Initially, it was the hospital was not ready for us. I think we were the first patients. But after a few days, it became very organized. The hospital was cleaned properly and facilities improved. The doctors and nurses are excellent. They really try hard. Dr. Than, Thanh, he's very good. Dr. Hien, Hien, she is very good. And Dr. Jiang, his English was excellent. He explains things very clearly, and he does as much as he can. And I would say compassionate as well. He feels for us.
What about the others? Are there any people similar?
Yes, there is several other English people that I started this with. We were all on the same flight from London, and I am now with 2 German men and another Englishman in the same room. We are all testing negative and are all very healthy, so we feel like we can go home. We will be moved to another part of the hospital with other negative patients, and then we have to have another CT scan, and this will then decide our lung and respiratory health.
Yes.
And then, if that is good, we will be your Vietnamese Ministry of Health will make a decision for our departure and leaving.
Right. Yeah.
And if we get a negative test today, that is 3 negative tests, and none of us have any signs or symptoms of illness.
I believe that all of these examinations are to make sure that you are in good health conditions.
I totally agree. Yes, and I thank them for that. I feel my treatment here has been excellent. In England, it would not have been the same because there are so many people sick and they cannot cope with it. If I had been sick like this in England, I would not have had the x-rays and the chest scans because I'm not sick enough. But here, they have been very thorough.
Obviously, you're in the hospital for almost 4 weeks and you are not close to your families and your beloved at home. So do you want to send them any message from Vietnam?
Yes, I miss them all very much. I cannot wait to see them all again and have an English Sunday roast dinner together one day.
But I believe that soon you will be released and be able to go back and reunite with your family members back in the UK.
I will, and I will tell them. It's just been amazing. The treatment, the scans, the x-rays, just everything has been so good. And I would not have received this in England currently not because of bad, they just cannot cope. There's so many thousands of people becoming sick.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your insights and
thanks, Lena. Yeah, I appreciate that. And you could have saved my life.
Yeah, thank you. And good luck and stay safe.
The Vietnamese way of dealing with this has been so amazing, and I simply cannot believe how powerful a country like Vietnam can be in a time of crisis. It is amazing. Vietnam is amazing. Tôi yêu Việt Nam rất nhiều. When I think of the Vietnamese, I bow my head to them with utmost respect. These are the volunteer workers at the facility holding my father in quarantine. No beds, sleeping in the street and sidewalks. This is dedication.
I am a retired nurse, so I knew I was dying. So I'm very grateful for you. Your doctors are amazing people. And the nurses, you're wonderful people. Thank you.
Vietnam, because of the coronavirus, there was a big shortage of blood. So this was on the Thursday. The Friday, I decided I'm going to try and do something through Vietnam during this period to actually take photos, to actually post online.
Today I'm joined by 15 members of the Viet Cels, which are dedicated to the people that have lost their lives through COVID-19, to their families who are grieving, and also to the authorities and the medical professionals who are working day and night.
Colour of skin, nationality, it doesn't matter. Inside here, we're the same colour, no difference. We see this as our country, and we are trying to do our bit through this difficult situation.
Thank you, Vietnam. Those are the heartfelt words that our foreign friends have expressed to Vietnam after all. Deep inside, they have considered this their home and want to contribute to the great cause of Vietnam. Keep people safe and healthy, and do not let the COVID-19 pandemic spread like wildfire. Together, we will win this battle. I strongly believe so, and I hope that you've been inspired as much as I have in the stories that we've shared here today. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.